In this video, we're going to take a look at a blue ink by Akkerman Shocking Blue. As always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. Let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 25 seconds to dry. The medium is a little bit lighter than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen. It shows some shade spots like the BR in brown is a bit darker and then it gets a little lighter there. The U in quick is a little lighter than the rest of the word. 40 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no real color variation and there's not a ton in the writing. And the smear test I don't think you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Kaweco Sport with a 1.5 stub was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 41 seconds to dry. The medium is about the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 95 seconds to dry. Oh my goodness. The scrubby for both show no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. In the smear test, you could probably not recover anything if you smear while you're writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down and then it's put in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this very bright blue that's pushing its way up with a very dark line across the top. Now, I just think that it's all a single tone and it's gathering there. I don't think this is two that are mixing. The one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it's put into water, and we do see it start to form a line across the bottom, starting to bond with the paper a little bit, but the rest of it is really pushing its way up and still gathering at the top. Not expecting a ton of resistance here. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 21 seconds to dry. The medium is about the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 46 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation. We don't really get any, and the smear test, there's a maybe you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard this ink may be to clean from your pen. This smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it definitely spreads quite a bit. You see a bunch of that blue has mixed with the yellow. It really creates an ugly look if you did use this in a note-taking situation and went back and highlighted. Now, water is reactivating and moving a lot of this ink, and on the bottom part, you do start to see some of the white of the paper just starting to come through. Pen Flush does everything that water does and nothing more, really. Now, it only took water to get this out of my pen. The 1/3 bleach solution is mostly removing it, leaving this weird kind of brownish tone there. And another interesting thing on this swatch is you see a bunch of yellow sheen that doesn't come through in the writing, which is part of the reason I don't find swatches to be the most accurate representation of an ink. The next writing sample is done on Moji paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 13 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 19 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation and we get none, and the smear test, you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity is 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Akkerman's Shocking Blue has a viscosity of 2.54, making it normal and almost average. The next writing sample is done on moleskin paper. Now we do get a bunch of bleed spots that are occurring here, and not the end of the world. It's not touching the page underneath, but you probably couldn't use the back of the page on the medium. The extra fine, that would probably work, and you could probably use the back of the page. The medium has a ton of feathering all over it. It is a little distracting in certain letters like the A and the first K, but other than that, for what this notebook would be for, I don't see this being the end of the world. It has no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub. It too has a ton of feathering, but tiny feathering, so not something that would stop you from using this notebook. No spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. 5 seconds to dry. Scrubby shows no color variation. We're not getting any. In the smear test, you could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Akkerman's Shocking Blue has an average dry time of 45 seconds, largely having to do with how long it took to dry on that Tomoe River, but still, this is a very long drying ink. The last writing sample is done on 20-pound copy paper. There's a ton of bleed that's going on. A lot of this bleed in the medium did touch the page underneath, so I wouldn't use it in a medium on this, because you're going to ruin that next page. The extra fine has a ton of bleeding in, but not all the way through. The extra fine did not touch the page underneath. Obviously, tons of ghosting with it. It's a result of that bleeding heavy in. The medium has a ridiculous amount of feathering and spread. No halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the medium. It also has a ton of feathering. It does spread to about a medium. No halo, sheen, no shade. 1 second to dry. I see this all as a problem on this paper. The scrubby shows no color variation. We didn't get any, but the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding an ink that looks like Akkerman's Shocking Blue, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Now I think it's a very nice vivid blue, and I don't want to draw attention away from it, so I went with a nice neutral gray from Diamine Grey. So what do I think of Akkerman's Shocking Blue? This is a beautiful, dark, and still a vivid blue. I liked it enough that immediately after sampling it, I bought a bottle. There's some shading from dark to vivid to very dark, but it's kind of hard to really notice. I have been enjoying it though. What nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? I do like how it looks from a medium flow pen, especially the extra fine or fine. Now with that, it does shade, and it does shade very nicely from that dark to very dark with some vivid blues in there. It was just hard to get the camera to really get it to come through, so it wasn't worth highlighting to look like all the same stuff when you're watching it. But I don't care for how this looks from a wet stub. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video we're going to take a look at Noodler's Texas Black Bat.